Each one was different because we had different levels of success. Not that one was ever really very successful, but I've been in plenty of crappy bands from here, you know, from being in high school all the way through, you know, to a few years ago. And being in a band is, I mean, it's not as glamorous as everybody likes to think it is. Everybody thinks it's as cool as those half hour, that 45 minutes they see on a stage, and it's not. The half hour, 45 minutes is the pinnacle of the day. That's what it's supposed to be about. You don't see the other 23 hours a day when it's no sleep, when it's bad food, when no one shows up, when no one answers your phone call, when you don't get paid what they said they were going to pay you, when no one buys merch, when people heckle, when there's a lot of things in between that people don't see. They just see the cool shows, they see the cool clips on the internet. They don't see the struggle at the time. So, by that right, it's a thing that's so romantic in retrospect. In retrospect, when you look back on these things, those days were awesome. They were wonderful. But when they were going on, when it was happening, it sucks really bad to be hungry and cold and tired and to know that no one's paying attention. 10 years down the line, you say to yourself, I learned so much from that. I learned humility. I learned how to appreciate things. I learned how to work for things. And by that right, it's definitely an experience. I mean, it's something that you're only going to come out a better person from. And so I learned a lot. I learned a lot of tolerance. I learned teamwork. I learned something that I'd never learned before, really. I learned how to be on a team. I learned how to tolerate very dominant personalities along with my own and to make it work. And to learn how to still have fun with it all. Right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And I think a lot of people forget that. Yeah, I have. You know, I mean, I've roadied for bands for the past 10 years. Started out roading for some of my friends' smaller bands, and then those bands got bigger, and then those bands got bigger, and then I roadied for this band that got bigger. It all built up, and I got to, again, it's another one of those things that looks a lot more glamorous than it really is. You know, you're like, oh man, I can't believe you get to do merch for this band. Taking Back Sunday or Panic at the Disco, man, these bands are awesome. I can't believe you get to do merch for My Chemical Romance. I've done merch for a lot of those bands. It's not glamorous. It's not fun. It's only glamorous when you get to retell the story of it being glamorous. Yeah. It's only glamorous in the times when you get to say, yes, I worked for so-and-so band. That's the only time that it's glamorous, when you get free food. You know, that's about the extent of it. That's about how glamorous it gets. Don't get me wrong, it's fun. You get to meet a lot of people. You get a lot of cool opportunities. There's a lot of cool things that you get to see. But as far as let me just tell you, give me an example. I worked for Fall Out Boy on a Warped Tour, and we were in Detroit, and it was literally the hardest day I've ever worked in my entire life. Harder than, you know, the jobs that I had when I was young, when I had to jump in dumpsters and crush down garbage, and rats are jumping out, harder with sweat. Dude, I didn't stop sweating that entire day. I worked for 14 hours straight. It sucked. I only had time to run to grab dinner. It's the only time I had. And then I had to run back. We drank so many cans of water. We went through everything. It was miserable. And at the end of that, for 10 days, I got paid $150. Yeah. Work that out, it's $15 a day. That day, I got paid a little bit more than $1 an hour. Think about it. On the hardest, the most difficult day I've ever worked in my entire life. I mean, I was upset. I was yelling at my friends. I was yelling at the kids. I was pissed. We kept running out. We had to keep running back half a mile to go grab more merch and bring it back and dig it, bring it through the rocks and grab them on these little trolley carts that kept falling over. It sucked. It was a really, really hard day. It was the hardest day I've ever worked in my entire life. But at the end of the day, it looks glamorous because I could say, I worked for Fall Out Boy and one, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's all glamorous until they actually do it, and then you're like, oh, now I see. But yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. I've worked for a lot of bands in one capacity or another, and it is what it is. At the end of the day, you can talk to any of those bands, any of those people who work for those bands, because a lot of my friends are friends who work for those bands, and they'll tell you all the same thing. Yeah, it's cool, I get to travel everywhere, but I don't get to see anything, because I have to be up early, I have to work all day, I have to stay up late, and then I have to go back. I don't really get to see much, I don't really get to do much. So by that right, it's, again, it's not as glamorous as everybody makes it out to be. And what I'm doing now is far more glamorous than slinging merch or carrying boxes or going to fetch a certain type of French fry for someone. So. Absolutely, without doubt. Like I said, I've answered this question a few times. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that a lot of people didn't open up doors and opportunities for me, because they didn't. But like I said in the interview that I did with AP.net, I read an interview that said 80% of the people in America have gotten their jobs by someone putting in a word for them. And, oh, that's my boy, that's my dude, that's my girl, that's my friend. Can you hire him? Or can you put in a good word? Blah, blah, blah. He's a good dude, she's a good chick. And it happens. And I had a bunch of people who put in a good word for me, and it's awesome. There's a lot of people that know that they have a stage. They know they have a stage. They know they have clout behind their name, and they use that to help their friends. And they do. And now that I've gotten a little bit of weight behind my name, I use it to try and help other people out as well. My friend's band, Too Sweet, I back them because not only are they good dudes, they deserve it, and I think they're honest and genuine, but I love their music, and I back them. And I have a little bit of clout now, a little bit of weight behind my name, whatever, even as small as that is, but I do, and I push them as much as I possibly can because somebody did the same thing for me. And that's how this kind of industry replenishes life. Yes, to answer your question.